Hey SD, welcome to Spa Boss Talks, the go-to podcast for estheticians ready to elevate their game in the world of beauty and business. I'm your host, Nicole Lancaster, a six-figure solo esthetician and former spa manager with a passion for helping you turn your aesthetic skills into a thriving business. Whether you're just starting your journey in the beauty industry or you're a seasoned pro looking to take your spa business to the next level, you're in the right place. I've walked the path from the treatment room to managing a 6 to 7 figure spa, and now I'm here to share the lessons, challenges, and triumphs with you. Together, we'll dive deep into the business side of aesthetics, from mastering marketing techniques to building lasting client relationships and everything in between. So get ready for candid conversations, expert interviews, and actionable advice that you can implement right away. Spa Boss Talks is not just a podcast, it's your go-to resource for becoming the spa boss you were meant to be. So whether you're tuning in during your commute, while treating clients, or winding down at the end of the day, get ready to be inspired, informed, and empowered, because this is Spa Boss Talks, and I'm Nicole Lancaster, your guide to success in the world of aesthetics and business. Welcome back to another episode of Spa Boss Talks. Today, I am so excited to have Rachel Rivera on this episode. Rachel is a talented esthetician who, after graduating from aesthetic school in 2020, has taken the beauty industry by storm. Her passion for skincare led her to open the Wax Bar of Tampa, a fabulous and successful waxing studio where she specializes in full body waxing. Her dedication and expertise allowed her to expand to a storefront in 2023, where she's hired an additional waxer to meet her growing demands. Rachel is also a brand partner with Fur Products, showcasing her commitment to high-quality, effective skincare. And outside of work, she enjoys family life, being a devoted wife, and a loving mother to a 1-year-old. I am so excited to have you here to talk about your specialty, your niche, your journey as an esthetician. Thank you again so much for joining me today.
Thank you. I'm excited.
I'm so excited. So, sorry.
Oh no, I said I'm excited. I love talking with you.
I know. I'm excited because I saw you from your very beginning in your suite just grow into this beautiful, fabulous storefront. So I just wanted to kind of talk about your journey, how you went from your suite to your storefront. So let's start from like the very beginning. Can you just share your journey in aesthetics? What got you interested? Have you always been interested in skincare and beauty and waxing? Like, where did it start for you?
Yeah, I've always been interested in more like hair. I always wanted to do hair since like middle school. And then I decided, okay, I'm gonna go get my cosmetology license. I did like 2 years of it in high school, but I didn't do the whole thing. And then when I went to go do that, it was going to be like this long journey for cosmetology, and I was just not ready to sign up for that at the moment. And then I started getting into skincare. I started following this girl on YouTube, and her name's JD Wadey, and I loved her videos, and I was like, I think that's what I wanted to do. I started breaking out so bad on my face, and honestly, I couldn't really like afford to go get treatments like every 4 weeks, like on the dot, and like do all these things. So I was investing in my education through like YouTube on trying to figure out what I can do for myself. Then I was like, okay, I think I'm gonna do aesthetics. So I signed up for aesthetics, and then I got inspired honestly by another girl on Instagram for waxing. I had never even thought about doing waxing. But yeah, once I started waxing, I love that it's like instant results. So from there, I was
I
like,
think
okay,
that's
I'm gonna
like
stick with
kind of the
that.
journey a lot of us had. I think a lot of us went from having like skin issues to wanting to learn how to fix it to then wanting to
Yeah.
help other people fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And I love that you got inspiration from what you saw online. Like you
Mm-hmm.
just got that inspiration and helped yourself and it grew into something a little bigger.
Yeah, for sure. Now that I don't do like facials or anything like that anymore, I'm more focused on like body care. It's like a whole new thing that I'm so interested in. Like just caring like well with ingrowns, I could go with that all day long. It's just so interesting. So I went from like acne on my face to like helping people like treat their ingrowns on their body.
That's awesome. Now, when you first graduated high school, I guess, aesthetic school, did you go straight into a suite? Because when I met you, you had already had a suite. So what, did you go straight into a suite? Did you work for someone? Were you offering
I
all types of services? Like, how did that work for you?
Yeah, so while I was in school, I well, at my house now, I have a room off to the side that I completely turned into my own little studio. Because when I went to school, it was right when COVID hit. I want to say it started in January and then March was COVID, so 2020. And I think we were on Zoom for like a month or 2 months with school. So obviously I'm not hands-on learning anything. So that's when I decided to turn that whole room. I like got my husband to like install a sink in there and like we did all this stuff so that I could like practice on my friends and family. And then I did that all the way up until October of 2020. And that's when I got my first studio. Yeah, because I met you when I was in my first studio. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I did at home, which I only took like friends and well, family and like close friends. And then
Mhm.
from there, I was just like saving. And I basically had everything ready to start my own studio because I had my own place in my house. So I just needed to figure out how I was going to afford rent and then just move everything into my first studio. And that was 2020.
I mean, that's brilliant of you. You basically just found a way to make it work and you knew you had to because you needed hands-on, like you needed that training. And I think that's what makes successful entrepreneurs is people who just figure it out. We don't say like, oh, I can't do this because of COVID. I don't have hands-on. You were like, let me find a way to have hands-on because I'm going to be the expert at what I do and let me get this practice in.
And that whole time is when I was just doing facials and body waxing. Yeah, I never ventured off into lashes or anything like that. It was always just waxing and then facials. That's what I was
So
doing.
you had an interest in waxing from the very beginning. You got inspiration for waxing from online before you had even started school, or you got into school and you were like,
Right.
wow, this is great.
Yeah, I think right when I don't remember exactly when I found her, but I must have been in school because that's probably when I was doing all my research on like Instagram, like who should I follow to like be inspired by and stuff like that. And then yeah, it was random. I never thought about waxing. I had before I started the aesthetic school, I think I maybe had been getting waxed like maybe 5 times. Like I had just started myself going to get waxed. It was nothing I ever thought I would be doing ever.
It's so crazy because you're such an authority in Tampa. Like when people think of waxing, they think of your space. Like you're the person they think of when it comes to
Oh, that's
waxing. So for
nice.
somebody to not even initially think about it, to all of a sudden like creating this beautiful brand and this personal brand that specializes it, and to become an authority in our city. I mean, it's so inspiring. It's inspiring for estheticians. It's inspiring for me, for other business people and business women.
I
It's
just truly
so
love it.
inspiring.
I love what I do. And I always say with waxing, what I really love is that, well, one, like they come in obviously like with hair and then they leave completely like with no hair. So like the results are there. Where when it was
Yeah.
like skincare, like it just takes a lot more time to like start to see results, with
Mhm.
facials and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I love with waxing, I feel like this sounds so weird sometimes, but like when it's a new client, they're so scared. And then the way they feel so comfortable with me, like after
Yeah.
their appointment, and they come in again, and because you don't have to like, get undressed for waxing, like they're already
Right.
undressed before I shut the door behind them by their second, third appointment. Because I like how I make people feel comfortable because it can be such a scary service for like new
Yeah.
people. So I think that I really like that they trust me. Like a lot of our clients have to trust us to come to us.
Right. Well, I know that you do a lot of like Brazilian waxing too, and that's a very intimate service for a lot of us. And I think I had a bad Brazilian waxing experience. I lasered myself years ago when I worked in a med spa, but before that, I went in for Brazilian wax and it was horrible. The woman didn't know how to pull. My hair wasn't the right length. A little boy walked in when I'm like knees to chest. I was like, kill me now. So not only are you insecure because another
Horrible.
woman's seen your vagina and there's these images everywhere that we think our vagina is supposed to look a certain way. So we're a little intimidated, we're a little scared, we don't want to like look weird, smell weird, be weird, and now we have this woman in our intimate, plus we're scared about the pain. So when
Yeah,
somebody can
it's a
just
lot.
make you feel comfortable and take charge, I know like the last time I got waxed, I was like, oh, do I just like take my pants off here? Like, do you step out? And they're like, no, I'm going
I
to be
know there
waxing
was
your
like
vagina, just lay down,
I know I remember there was this thing going. I don't remember who somebody posted on Instagram like um should your waxer be stepping out the room and giving you some privacy to get undressed? And there was like a debate going back. I don't remember where I saw that, but I was like, no, I'm gonna stay in the room. I'm gonna see everything anyways. I think it's more weird if I'm like, all right, I'm gonna step out while you get dressed and I'm gonna come back in. I'm like, okay, girl, you get ready. I'm gonna turn around. I'm just like, I take everything out. My back's towards them anyways, and then I turn around and then boom, we're ready to get started.
It's
But
so funny.
yeah, whenever I forgot where I heard this from too, but when you were talking about how we think like, oh, do I look normal? Do I smell or anything like that? I
Yeah.
have girls all the time asking me like, do I look normal down there? And I forgot where I read this, but the answer is like, what's normal? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what is normal? Like, what is it supposed to look like? It's not supposed to look like anything. And I feel like
Right.
I forgot where I read that, but that always stuck in my head. And anytime someone asks, I always say that. I'm like, well, what is that supposed to, like, what kind of question is that?
I
And I feel
love
like it
that.
makes people so comfortable because it's like, what are you basing off? Like, what is it supposed to look like? And
Right.
I feel like that gets people to feel really comfortable because they're like, oh, you're right. Like, what is it supposed to look like? Like, there's no right way for it to look.
When I
That's
used
what I
to,
just thought about.
yeah, when I used to laser Brazilians, I can't wax a Brazilian. I always said you'd lose a labia if I tried. But whenever I would laser, um, women, like when they feel uncomfortable and like they start to close their knees, almost like we do at the gynecologist, right? We're like, oh my God, like I can feel my gynecologist's ears now on my knees, right? So they start to close and I'm like, we don't have time for you to be nervous and uncomfortable. Like we gotta go. I got like 30 minutes to do your service. We
No.
gotta go. It's
I always use
okay.
my elbow to like push them back down and they're
Oh,
like,
that's
I'm
really
sorry. I'm like, no. And I always tell them in the beginning, I'm like, if you feel me pushing you like with my elbow, don't think I'm like it's just normal for me now to like know to push your knee down to like get you to where I need you to be. Because I
that's
was like,
so funny. So you went from doing skincare waxing at home in your separate space to having your own suite and being a solo esthetician. You were there for like a year or two, right?
um, my first suite, I was there for a year. And then I moved into a my salon suite for 2 years. And then
Oh,
we just
wow.
moved in here September 2023.
That's crazy. It feels like
Feels like
6 months.
yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like that all happened in 6 months.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
whenever you first went into your suite, I know you were still offering some skincare, but were you starting to kind of phase that out and go straight into waxing?
I was still doing both because I really did enjoy doing facials. I think once I got to my second suite is when I told myself, like, I was like, there's so much that goes into acne that I do not want to be known as like an acne specialist or anything like that because there's just so much that goes into it that I was not wanting to like honestly do the research on. So
Yeah.
for me, I was like, I don't want to provide services that I'm not doing continuing education, like
Yeah.
continuing my education on. So I took a step back from like doing acne facials. I think I took it off my book. So I was just doing like regular facials, like dermaplaning facials, like just your basic, like you needed to come in, get extracted, maybe have like an enzyme mask, like you just needed to focus on exfoliation because I knew that I lost my interest for the acne because it just got there's so much information with that. I was like, my brain cannot handle that. So I took took that off the menu. So I was just basically doing like basic facials, full body waxing, and then when I got pregnant, I that's when I told the clients I did have. I was like, after I'm done with the baby, I'm gonna stop doing facials because it's a lot to set up. I used to block facials off for 2 hours. By the time I could clean up, give them a whole facial, clean my whole room, and like switch it from a facial vibe to waxing. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I could barely fit my waxing clients in if I was doing facial waxings. So after I had the baby, I told everyone that I was gonna stop doing facials.
Well, with that, you probably could have fit in like 4, 5, 6 people within those 2 hours with waxing versus what you were doing facials. So I'm sure the return on investment is way better with
And that's
waxing
what I
now
was,
that you have
yeah,
that.
that's what I was thinking towards too. And it's less, not as much to set up. I got
Yeah.
tired of washing towels every single day, bed sheets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we talk about too. We have our private esthetician community and it's a mentorship program. And every month we have a different theme. And February was all about like finding your niche and understanding that giving up other services doesn't take away from your income. Like initially you might be scared because you're seeing clients, you're getting this money coming in for certain things. It's good money. But like you said, you can't be the expert and you can't specialize in everything because continuing education in our industry is so important. And how can you do continuing education on everything? How can you constantly be doing it? You know, you're waxing, and every time you're doing a wax, you're getting better and better at your service. So to really find what your specialty is and what you love to do and what you're good at is very important because it's going to make you a lot more money. It's going to make you more successful, and it's going to be a certain clientele to really market to. It's way easier to do it to a very specific clientele versus keeping it broad for anyone who wants facials, waxing, lash lifts, lash tinting. So how did you decide that you just wanted to do waxing? Like, what was the turning point? Was it that it just took too much time, it took too much booking, or did you just like kind of fall out of loving skincare and you just started really loving doing waxing?
I think I just really loved doing waxing and being able to just talk with my clients. I knew way more about my waxing clients and I was closer to them than my facial clients because you don't talk
Yeah,
during facials. And I'm just I like to talk. I could talk all day. So I think I just realized that I have more fun doing waxing.
yeah,
I do like doing facials, but for me it was like I think I'm more happier when I'm waxing because I'm just chit chatting with everybody. I'm getting like 3 girls out in an hour, so that's like 3 personalities, 3 different conversations I got to have.
yeah.
I think that's what it was. Nothing crazy with the facials. It was just I had more fun waxing. And then when I found this location, the way it has to be built out or how to be built out, I can hear a lot of conversations if it's quiet in here. So there's no way I could offer facials if Madison, my waxer, was waxing next to me. It would not be relaxing at all because there'd be
Yeah.
music going, like you'd just be able to hear everything. So I knew that when I got this space, I definitely had to weed out the facials.
I think
And
you're right
waxing's
too.
fun.
Once you're in your groove of something,
Hmm.
especially with waxing, like you're in your groove, your setup is there. As estheticians, it's so much easier to just clean up and reset up versus stripping down an entire bed, now setting up for a facial, now stripping that totally down because now you're doing waxing, you have to be able to wipe stuff down. Like it's so much easier to just stay in your groove and
Hmm.
keep the same setup for services back to back. It's so much more time efficient. It's you're able to get more clients in. Like it's just better all around. It's a better way to make money because you like you said, you're not having to block off all that extra time. I think it's
Yeah.
just definitely better to have that one service. Now, did you see a difference in your revenue whenever you stopped seeing facials? I know that you had just come back, you said from maternity leave, so you might have. I mean, I feel like that can go either way.
Yeah.
When I came back from maternity leave, I was really busy. Some people are really slow. But did you actually
Yeah.
see like a difference in revenue when you decided just to do waxing?
Um, I guess it's kind of hard to answer that because I had hired my waxer last, no, 2022. Whenever me and my husband decided, okay, I think we're gonna try to have a baby, I said, okay, well, let me find an employee because when I go on maternity leave, I can't, how am I gonna pay rent for a suite? That's
Yeah,
so expensive. And where are my clients gonna go? I wanted to be out for 3 to 4 months. So where are my
yeah,
clients gonna go by the time I'm gone? So I did all my interview. I found her, and then by the time I had the baby, she took over my clients. So I can't. I feel like all last year, when it comes to that, it's kind of hard to look back on how that was going. But I feel like because I when I came back, I only worked Mondays for a long time, for like 4 months after. So all
that's awesome.
2023, that's kind of hard for me to backtrack on that question.
That's awesome. You're such a smart businesswoman that you like thought that you weren't, like trying to put your clientele on hold because you wanted to keep all the money and hoping that they would stay and rebook. You knew you wanted this time with your child, and you actually took like 3 months off, 4 months off.
Hmm. One of the two, I can't remember. And then when I came back,
That first year is a blur
I
with kids.
Oh, I know. It's already been a year. I was out, I want to say I was out for 3.5 months, and then for like 4 months after that, I only worked Mondays. So
That's
I still
awesome.
kept my other waxer working like her regular schedule because she started taking all my clients and hers. So I didn't just want to come back in and be like, okay, well now because she's commissioned
Yeah.
too. So I didn't want to be like, okay, well I'm gonna take all my well if they wanted to come back to me, I'm gonna take all my clients and now your pay is just gonna drop. So I was
Yeah.
letting her, get used to me coming back as well.
Yeah, that's such a smart business move. Like you had an actual plan. You knew that you could actually grow your business if you did it this way and you could keep your clients inside of your suite. If you did it this way versus trying to put everyone on hold, I only took 4 weeks off for my daughter. The longest time I ever had alone with my child was COVID. And it was great, like 90% of the time, being with your child 24/7. But I mean, that was brilliant of you because you still had an income coming in. Like you said, you could pay your suite bills, you could pay the person waxing for you. Um, I mean, that's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. Now, have you seen like any challenges? So you were still in your own suite before you even built out your storefront that you're in today. You're in your own suite. You're thinking about having a baby. You hire Madison, Madison, right?
Hmm.
You hire Madison to take your clients and build your clientele and help build your business while you're out. And then you move on to a storefront. Did you see any challenges initially with having somebody that you hired underneath you? Or were you like, oh my God, this was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made?
Definitely the best decision I've ever made. When I went to hire somebody, I did not just hire the first person that I interviewed 10 people.
Wow.
I am very like, I mean, as anyone should be with their business, it's like their baby, but when I'm not there, there's a whole register there. There's a
Yeah.
whole like so many things could go wrong. And thankfully, like she was the last person I interviewed. It's actually really funny how I found her, but she was the last person I interviewed, and she's been with me for now. This year will make 2 years that she's been with me, and I tell her every time I'm so thankful for her because she's made it such an easy like. She's the best employee. She's the best person that like literally I could have found. So I feel like I got really really lucky with her. Um, yeah, I forgot what your question was, but I could go on and on how like she has made it so much easier because she hasn't made anything complicated for me. But you
That's
hear horror stories
awesome.
all the time.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to hire people. It's hard to trust people.
Yeah.
I know I've even gone through the hiring and now I just rent rooms because going through hiring and people just not showing up to do their services. And they were like great interviews, great practicals, somebody that you can mentor and coach. And then I was out of town and somebody no call, no showed for services. One time somebody set the alarm on our spa and a client showed up and that person no call, no showed on the client. So the poor client shows up, opens the front door, and the alarm goes off. And I was like, never again can I hire someone. So it's so hard to hire people. So whenever you really find that person that works well for you, works well for your brand, it's so important. And
I've
it's
had
great that you're able to grow with her.
I've had girls on Instagram ask me, like they're looking to hire or they're having problems with like the person that they hired and asking for my opinion. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like I can't give you my opinion because I honestly haven't gone through like any challenges with
Yeah.
thankfully, knock on wood, but yeah, she's been very, very helpful. And I think like
So
May this year will make 2 years.
so your space now, do you have space to hire other waxers?
I have I have two service rooms and then I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but over there I have a brow chair. So I have
Hmm.
Melanie, and she's the brow artist. She does all things brows and then dermaplaning. Um, I could bring on someone because I only work 3 days a week,
Hmm.
but I feel like it's kind of slow right now. Maybe when summer comes, I could, but I could bring on someone very, very part-time because there's
So
two
when you
service rooms.
hired Madison and you came back from maternity leave, that's when you were like, okay, waxing only. And then you and Madison started taking your clients, you started kind of growing with her, you were growing your brands. When you came back, is that when you looked at her and you were like, hey, let's do this, let's build out a storefront? we need to be
No,
able to service these clients?
since school, I knew like I wanted to find my own storefront. Like even if I would have went through cosmetology, like I would have been in this situation, but doing hair. Um, while I actually since 2022, I was looking for a space, but COVID
Wow.
just hit. Tampa spiked up. Everything was,
Yeah.
I mean, everything is still so expensive. So it took me, I'd say, a year and a half to find this place. Because before I got pregnant, I was looking. And then obviously while I was pregnant, I was looking. And then I found this place June last year. So it took
Yeah, I
me,
think I even convinced you to come into my place. I'm like, she's a smart businesswoman. She's
yeah,
going
yeah,
to pay
yeah,
her
yeah.
rent on time.
I
I'm like,
know,
how do
no,
I get her?
no.
What do I offer her?
No, yeah, I literally was like, I need this though, because especially when I
Yeah.
found Madison, I was like, I definitely need a storefront because me and her were switching out of one room,
Yeah.
10 by 10 room. I
Well,
was
and it
like, there's
wasn't
no,
part of your goal. Like your goal
yeah,
was to have a
mhm,
storefront. Your goal wasn't to stay a suite owner. Your goal was to be, a boss babe. Your goal was to have your own beauty storefront and
yeah,
become
and I
successful.
love it. It's definitely different than having the studio because obviously, like people can see your sign out front, and I feel like that helps a lot. But I love it. It's so much better than where I was at before.
Yeah. Um, Now, do you have any strategies for estheticians who are working in suites now? Maybe they're solo estheticians and they're wanting to go and build something bigger, build a bigger brand, maybe open their own storefront. Do you have any strategies for them or any tips that you would give them if they're looking to grow
I
and
always
change
just
from suite to
say,
storefront?
be yourself and don't give up because I feel like if you like I said, it took me a year and a half to find a location. I
Yeah.
could have looked 4 months, said whatever. Like there's not like just seeing the prices, like it was crazy. But I just didn't give up. Every single day I was online. Every single day my realtor was sending me pictures, like, and I probably annoyed her so much, but like it just wasn't like none of the places were it. Everything was too expensive. So you can't give up. If you really want something, you just have to go for it. And then when it comes to social media, just be yourself. Just be yourself. That's the thing I always say. Don't give up and then just be yourself and you'll get wherever you need to go.
I think that's one thing, as business owners or small business owners and entrepreneurs, we're eager to start things, but sometimes when things are hard or they don't work out the first time, that's exactly what people do. And that's one of my biggest pieces of advice too, because I've seen it renting spaces out to people. I've seen where they could be so successful, but they give up on themselves or they start working part-time somewhere else and change their focus. Like it can be hard. And I know that sometimes it's hard to pay rent. I mean, having people work for you, sometimes you're like, okay, well, this commission just took, my food money for the week or, whatever it is. Like it can be hard sometimes, but you have to stay with it because you learn and you grow and you pivot and you are able to come up with strategies for all the challenges that you have. But that is what I see a lot of people do when it gets hard in our industry is they just give up and they're not able to build out their dreams. And I just say our
Like,
industry is probably the best industry to be in. I love it.
oh yeah, and it's growing. Like it's growing and there's always
Yeah.
room for everybody. And even when it comes to clientele, like I'm gonna be honest, today's Valentine's Day, and you would think we would be slammed. It is the deadest day I've seen in like a few weeks. Granted, last
No, you
Thursday,
wouldn't
Friday.
because you say that people can't, be with their man 24 hours. So they're not trying to come to you on Valentine's Day when you
Yeah.
told them they can't get frisky after their wax. They're
Yeah.
listening to you, okay?
Honestly, that's what I've been telling myself. I'm like, everybody knows by now that you have to wait 24. That's what I've been
Yeah, they
telling
know.
myself. We were crazy booked last week and
Mhm.
stuff, but where I was going with that is like if you have a gap, like in the beginning, if you have 3 clients that day and you have someone at 10 and you have someone at 3 and someone at 8 o'clock at night, I mean, if you want to make it, you have to suck it up and you have to go through those because that's challenging to have 3, 4 hour gaps
Yeah.
in between people, you know. But in between those times with social media as big as it is now, find things to do. You can make a reel about anything, anything. And if there's some kind of education behind the reel, it'll get like people will watch it and share it. And I feel like, well, that's what I was trying to go with the whole strategy thing. Like, I feel like you just can't give up and you have to find things to do. And with social media, it's pretty easy to use that to get your business where you want to go.
Yeah, if you're a solo esthetician, you have to build your brand. So if there are time gaps, there's so many things you can do. You can be setting your goals, you could be tracking your numbers, you could be, like you said, coming up with reels or strategies for social media for the week. I love watching your Instagrams, like your Instagrams, your reels and everything are so good. I mean, I don't even do waxing and I'm like, oh my God, this like looks interesting. I just saw one with your husband like sticking a sign in the grass and I'm like, can I stick
Oh
a
yeah.
sign in my grass? I'm like, no, Nicole, you can't. Like, stop, what are you doing? But that it gets people in, it gets people watching, it gets people thinking that that's a good idea. And I think for our industry, social media is big because people want to see before and afters. But there always has to be some sort of call to action, like book now or sign up now, because we saw whenever there were moments or days that Facebook and Instagram went down, if you didn't have an email list or you didn't have your clients' emails, you would have been totally screwed. When I'm booking, always make my clients do phone number and email. So now I have you for text and email marketing. So you cannot just rely on social media to like communicate with your clients. You have to be strategic in that as well. Everything kind of has a little strategy behind it. And you need to be able to build that email list. So even if they aren't your clients now, they can become your clients because you can keep that communication open with them.
Mm-hmm. Like this morning, or last night or this morning, the booking app that I use, they make it so easy for me to just create like a little email and I sent it out to everybody saying like that there was availability today. So whoever saw that, but taking advantage of the little things that there is, yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen you do that too. Because I do the same thing where like it's like last minute availability and you like list the times and then like as
Mm-hmm.
they get taken, it's marked out. And that's worked really well for me too over the years is that people see it and they're like, oh, she has time. She never has time. And then they want to like slide in or you do it a few days before and they just want to slide in. So that's a really great strategy too. Now, do you think your clients see you differently now that you've given up skincare and then you went straight to waxing? Do you think that they saw you more as like the expert waxer when you did that? Do you think that like their their opinion of you or their perception of you changed that okay now she's like a waxer, now she's like the expert in this, or do you think it just kind of like stayed the same and you were just Rachel the esthetician?
No, I mean I guess so. Like I feel like because I always educate now on like body care and stuff like that. I feel like anytime my clients have questions, like they're always asking me like advice on X, Y, and Z when it comes to like body care. Yeah, I don't really know. That's a good question. I'm not
I
sure.
think that my perception of you has changed a little bit. Not that I didn't think that you weren't a successful esthetician before, but I think seeing you build this business and grow this brand in waxing, it definitely you're like, oh shit, that's a really smart businesswoman, versus just a solo esthetician. And not that I thought you were a dumb businesswoman by any means, but you can
Oh yeah,
see
yeah.
how you
I
can
haven't really
grow
thought about that.
and how you can specialize in something and create a
Yeah.
brand. And I think estheticians get hung up on choosing their specialty too, because they think, well, then I'm just going to specialize in waxing. That's it. They don't understand that you can grow from there. Like you can do vajacials from there if you wanted to. You can talk to your clients about, ingrown hair treatments and products. And there's so many different ways that you can grow from that service that it doesn't just have to be waxing. It can be, some people do like intimate bleaching with their Brazilian waxing. Like
I
there's
really want to do that.
do. Yeah, there's ways to add on and build your brand from that. That's, waxing versus waxing and facials or waxing and lashes. There's just so many ways to build from your brand once you have that specialty in that niche.
And the good thing, well, not good thing, but what I like about waxing is that it's not just Brazilians, like you could be an amazing brow artist.
Yeah.
That's because some people
Look
are
at
like,
Kelly Baker Brows.
oh, I know, like literally doing all the Kardashian and everybody in LA. That's amazing. And
Yeah,
she's
having her
not,
own brow line now. She has like her own brow pencils and her own
yeah, we carry
studios
the
and
brow stuff here, like the gel and then lamination stuff.
Mhm. Yeah, I always say that estheticians need to think outside the treatment room to make money because we learned during COVID, like you said, if your hands aren't on people, you can't make money. So how can you build off your brand just like that? Like having the brow pencils, having the studios, having privates, like how can you build off your brand to create success that isn't just in your treatment room? Do you think that now specializing in being the Wax Bar of Tampa, how do you think that's really helped bring in clients or bring in revenue? Do you think like being the specialist or being the experts in waxing has really kind of helped you grow your client base?
Honestly, I'm not sure how to answer that question though.
Okay, we can skip it.
Yeah, I don't know how to answer that one.
Like, do you think you make more money being a wax specialist, or do you think that if you were offering all the other services, do you think that you would be making the same amount of money?
Oh, okay, obviously. Yeah. No, definitely with the waxing. For sure.
You, yeah,
Yeah, because you can bring in with waxing, you can bring in a lot more clientele. So I feel like your revenue is just way higher because you can see more clients in an hour versus the same client for, let's say, an hour and a half for a longer service. I think I can, if you're charging like $60 for a Brazilian and you're getting three in an hour or
yeah.
faster, you're making more than a whole facial.
Yeah, and I think that now when you Google like waxing Tampa, you pop up. You know, like you've just become so known for it that that's your specialty and you pop up versus, spas Tampa and there's 5
Oh
billion
yeah,
of us.
yeah, no, that's true. That's
So
true.
I think it makes you a bigger key player in that market, in the industry in our city versus leaving your services broad. So it probably is easier for you to bring in clients because you specialize in Brazilian waxing and they trust, okay, this is a place, excuse me, that specializes in it versus this is a woman who's an esthetician that also does Brazilian waxing.
Yes, no, that's true.
So I want to touch base a little bit too. I know that you just had your son. How is it being a working mom?
It's a lot.
Did you
You
like when I
know.
said that and smiled? I'm like, how is it? Surviving.
It's no, yeah, it's a lot. I always say like if it wasn't for my husband, like there's no way I could do it.
Yeah.
There's no way I could do it. Like it's so much because obviously you want to give and you want to give your child all your attention, but my business needs all my attention and it's not just I don't want to say regular. It's not like I don't just come to work 9 to 5, clock out, and I'm not thinking about work once I get home. Like work does
Yeah.
not turn off. So it's definitely a lot for sure.
I think as again, as small business owners and entrepreneurs, throwing the child in the mix is kind of hard too. And your son's still small. Your son is still only a year. As they get older, it becomes easier. But you have all these responsibilities as a parent, as a wife, and as a business owner. Now you have employees that rely on you too. So it can be a little stressful at times where like you can't even shut your brain off, or you're laying in bed and you're like, oh my God, I forgot we have this, or I was supposed to write an email for that. So I think it's kind of trying to manage. Yeah, when people would ask me when Layla was little, how are you doing? That was my answer. I'm like, surviving,
Yes.
because
And
that's
then,
all I could do.
once you have one, the other question is, oh, do you think you'll have another one? In my head, I'm like, I have two babies. I have my wax bar and then I have my
Yeah,
son. Like I'm like, I don't know, because this just consumes so much of my life. I can't
yeah,
imagine. It just sounds like obviously people do it all the time, but maybe once he's a little bit older. But I
yeah,
just can't imagine I feel like there's not enough hours in a day.
yeah,
Every day, at least once a day, I always tell my husband, I wish I could press pause right now, do everything I need to do, and then press play again.
yeah. No, I used to
Wild.
hate that when Layla was little. I was like, no, because it's they're 100% reliant on you. I know I'm like, I sound horrible right now, but I'm
No,
definitely like a kid person. Like my kid is like the coolest kid in the world now. Because she can chill, she can hang out with us, we can do fun
yeah,
things, but small children and babies are 100% reliant on you. I remember being sitting in the spa room pumping. I was like, mrr, mrr, and I felt like a milking cow in my suite. I'm like, okay, I got 15 minutes. Like, I got to do this. And I think it's just funny how like small business owners, women, entrepreneurs, like we figure it out as we can. If we got to pump in the room, we're pumping in the room. If we, I actually got my space
after COVID because I knew that I needed a space for my daughter to be able to go. And I needed to be able to take time off when I wanted to because COVID was really scary in the beginning. We didn't know what was
Yeah.
going on. People were dying. We didn't know how people were getting sick. I mean, we thought like it was just blowing in the wind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I need to take time off or have space for my child. So my daughter's grown up in the spa. There's been times where she sat in my office for 8 hours while I had a busy day because you know how it is. If you have a full book, I can't reschedule you because I can't put you anywhere.
That's another thing I thought about when I got this place because I was pregnant or actually I had already had them. Well, when I was looking before was pregnant, I was pregnant, Um, we have 3 rooms. One's a break room. But I always say like, oh my gosh, when he gets in school, like at least I can pick him up. Like
Yeah.
like now he has a place that he could go as long
Yeah.
as he understands to like, act right. Like he can come here and I can take an extra 25 minutes. I can go run and pick him up from school and bring him back here. And if I'm gonna be here all night, at least my husband can come pick him up, like, and we can do that. So that was definitely something I thought about when I was like, okay, I definitely need a break room just for us, the girls too. But I was like, for those situations in the future as well. I was definitely
Yeah.
thinking that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, she's been sick and we have like put like folded up massage beds down and just made her like a little blanket. We've brought sleeping bags. We've done snacks, everything that she needs. And I'm like, okay, if you need me, you can come get me. But like,
And
it's
they could
Miss
care
Jennifer's
less.
time alone. Yeah.
They could care less. To them that's probably fun to like set up like this little fort in like the room and stuff like yeah.
With every electronic, I'm like, watch whatever
Mm-hmm.
you want on
Take
whatever
whatever
device
snack.
you want. It's Miss Jennifer's time with mommy though, and I'll come back in an hour, but do not come in that room. Unless
Yes.
something's happening, do not
Yes.
come in that room.
No, for sure.
Well, it's beautiful that you're able to have that space like that and be able to work because I mean, that's what we did. I have stopped seeing clients as of November because I've been an esthetician since 2012, so it just got really hard on my body to be hunched over all day and see clients. But that's what I did. I would go and get her and come back and see one client, and she'd have her little snack, and she knew like, okay, it's a spa day, we have to go. So she was so good. She was like a little mouse. Nobody ever knew she was here. So what is next for you and the Wax Bar of Tampa? What are your plans? What can we see in the future? Are you going to start offering training? Are you going to grow into a bigger storefront? Like what is,
I did do trainings 2022 and I honestly love it. I love the one-on-one, like watching somebody else and like being able to help them. I have been like posting about it on my stories to see like who would be interested, and there's a few people. So now just finding the time to take a whole day to do that.
yeah,
But I definitely want to do that this year and start that again because I really enjoy doing it. Um, that since I have my brow girl Melanie here, I want to focus more on brows because now that I've done Brazilians, like you said, there's not just waxing, like there's different parts of the body now that I can like
yeah.
focus on. So I think doing brows is my next goal. Well, it is my next goal for this year. And then
Permanent makeup?
just like threading and tenting and lamination and stuff like that. Yeah, no,
Oh,
not permanent makeup. That's too permanent for me. That scares me. And then I've talked to my landlord, but there's a unit right next to me. I don't know what their plans are yet, but as soon as they're out, I want to knock down this wall right here, like in the lobby where I'm sitting, and then basically duplicate what I have to that side. And I think I would stay here for a while because I'm like right in Midtown, and I think it's a really good location.
yeah, I saw your address. I don't know how I just saw it for the first time, but it said Cypress, which is like
Mm-hmm.
right there towards like the happening part of Tampa. So it seems like you're
Yeah,
in a really great location.
there's so much traffic. Like I'm staring out the window right now, and there's just like cars left and right.
That's so awesome. Well, do you have any parting advice for our listeners about growing their business, about opening their storefront, or finding their specialty in their niche? Do you have any parting advice for our listeners today?
Well, if you're new, try it all because you might say, "Oh, I'll never do that." But then after you do it like 5 or 6 times, you might be like, "Wait, that I love that service." Like I would
Yeah,
say try it all and then see what you're good at. If you have no interest in something, drop it. If you like
yeah,
if you're just not getting it, you really don't want to do the research on it, don't even spend extra time on it. Really find what makes you happy in the industry because there's so many things that we can do.
yeah.
And then use social media as much as you can. TikTok is the new Google.
I love
So
TikTok.
I feel like just utilize social media, be yourself, and don't be afraid to ask questions. You can, if you have questions, just message the person on Instagram. If they don't respond, they don't respond. But most of the time, I feel like people will respond to you. Unless they have like a trillion followers, and they're probably maybe not going to see it. But if there's someone you're inspired by, just ask them questions. Because there was times I could not find a question on Google to save my life, like just like random things. And I definitely asked people that I looked up to, and they answered me. Just put yourself
Yeah, I think
out there.
that's great advice because we're so alone sometimes when we start opening our own business. We're alone and we don't have those like estheticians to feed off of. So that's really great advice too. Just find people that you really like or that inspire you and ask them. Like you said, if they don't answer, you know, when people haven't answered my messages, probably
No.
like a million. But you
And I would
know,
also say in this industry, don't feel like you have to own a business.
yeah,
Like you can definitely like I was just raving about Madison. She loves being here. I love having her here. If you just like, you don't always have to like try to, I don't think she has any interest in owning her own like beauty space.
yeah.
If you work for someone smaller, and they'll probably treat you so right, and then you can really just expand from there, like under somebody else's business. It's not always about, I feel like because on social media now, everyone feels like they probably have to like run and open their own.
Yeah.
Don't be intimidated by that.
I feel like it's knowing what your end goal is. Like my end goal was to never own a spa. Like I have a space and I rent
Mhm.
out, but my goal was to never have my own spa with my own employees. I've managed med spas. I've helped people grow their businesses to 6 and 7 figures. I was never something I never wanted that to be mine. I wanted to help people get to where they are. I didn't want that to be mine. So I think
Yeah.
having that end goal in mind and really doing little steps towards your end goal versus, you know, like you said, if you don't want to have your own business, don't have your own business. You know, it's
Mhm.
not for everyone. It comes in ebbs and flows. It's really successful sometimes, and sometimes there's a lot of challenges. So if that's not you, but I think it's still very important to grow your own personal brand. I think that if
Mhm.
you are going and working for someone and just think, you know, I work for them, they're going to bring in all my clients. It's not 1992. That's not how that works anymore. It's very important for you to have your own personal brand still.
I tell my girl, I mean, Madison, she's already been with me for 2 years now, but she's on her Instagram.
Yeah.
Melanie is brand new. She just finished school like 6 months ago or less than a year ago. But I tell them they have their own Instagrams with their name under the Wax Bar. And I tell them, make your own content. Your clients want to, like, yeah, my job is to
Yeah.
help. My job is to find your clients, but your job is to maintain the clients, build the relationship with them. I always tell them, put yourself on your stories because people want to know you before they come to you. So I always encourage them to be on their Instagram and putting themselves out there.
Yeah. And if you're bringing in the clients, sometimes they want to go to you. You know, I've had the instances where I've gotten clients and they're like, oh, Nicole. And I'm like, Nicole's fully booked, you know, but that's what they wanted. So if they have their own content and are really growing their own personal brand, they're making those connections, like you said. So people want to see them and become loyal to them. Well, thank you so much for being with me today. And thank you so much for sharing your story. How can people get a hold of you if they want to follow you as a mentor or book appointments with you? How can our listeners get a hold of you?
The Wax Bar of Tampa, anywhere.
That's your handle for all your social?
Yeah, the Wax
That's
Bar of
awesome.
Tampa. Yeah, definitely
And that's your
Instagram.
website.
Thewaxbaroftampa.com.
Awesome.
If you ever want to reach out to me, definitely Instagram. I'm on there. Like, I will see your message for sure, and I will respond back. Always.
That's good. You heard it. You heard it. So now she has to.
Yes.
I get to hold her accountable. Well, thank you so much, Rachel, for being here today. And thank you for all the great information and strategies. I think our listeners are really going to love it. And I think that they're going to find your journey and your story pretty inspirational. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Spa Boss Talks. I hope you found valuable insights that will launch your aesthetic business to new heights. Remember, your success is our mission. If you enjoyed today's episode, please remember to like, subscribe, and share our show. We want to help as many estheticians as we can become successful business owners. Plus, sharing our show is a great way to support our small business. Before we part ways, remember you're not just an esthetician, you're a spa boss in the making. Until next time, stay inspired, stay confident, and keep conquering the world of aesthetics. This is Nicole Lancaster signing off from Spa Boss Talks.